this is Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel, and if you celebrate the holidays, I hope you had a wonderful holiday. I am currently on winter break, so I am enjoying the time off and getting more scrapbooking time and playing in my space. So for today's video, I will be sharing with you the 2025 reading journal that I have put together. I used a different type of journal. I don't even remember the brand off the top of my head, but I will leave it in the description box. I read some reviews and the reviews were really good. It said that the paper was the same quality as Archer and Olive. I think it's 160 GSM, I think. And so I bought it. And it is really comparable to Archer and Olive. I did a test page in the back for Tombos and also my stamps, and there was hardly any bleed through. So I might be talking about that a lot as I'm doing my voiceover because I was so excited with this journal and you know, the price point for this journal, because I think it was only $20. But I love it. Once I had my journal and I was trying to decide on what was going to be the design format for this journal, my biggest objective was to just make it simpler. Like, how can I make this so it's not so complicated? Because in 2024, remember, I had this wild idea that I was going to do a book review for every single book. And of course, that proved to be very daunting. I am behind on my reviews. I think I'm in August, and that's okay. I can finish it if I want to. I cannot finish it. It's up to me, right? This book, I wanted to just stick to the different stats that I have, the different challenges that I have, and then a monthly overview of my books. For this time, you're gonna see how I put together my title page, my monthly stats, my goals for the year, the different challenges that I'm doing, how I'm tracking my genres, and I love how every page turned out. It was fantastic. A lot of work, but definitely worth it. And another thing that I did this year was I did not go for a cohesive look. I wanted to make things simpler. So I just grabbed a ton of my stickers that are over here and just put whatever stickers I wanted on the page, and I love it. I was able to use more stickers and just make it easier on myself when I'm trying to put this together. A fun thing I did for this reading journal is I created my own stencil. So you will see me use it several times. If I hold it up to here, you can maybe see it a little bit better, but there's lots of stencils out there, and I bought some on Amazon. I didn't like them, I returned them, and then I thought about getting some drafting stencils that would help me with rectangles and that kind of thing, but those were expensive. So I figured, you know what, I have Cameo stencil material, why don't I just try my own. I did a bunch of test prints to make sure that it would fit in the size that I have. This particular box, this long one, that was gonna help me make a calendar, but it didn't work out, so I'm just gonna have to make the calendar on my own. But I have the little boxes for Goodreads and then boxes for challenges, and it just turned out amazing. I felt so proud of myself that I was able to come up with this stencil, and it really helped me out. So I hope you guys are excited to see this journal come together. It is going to be a long video, so I hope you have a project or your journal or something fun to drink while you are watching me put together this video. I appreciate you taking the time to watch it, and I am excited to share how my 2025 reading journal came together.
First page is obviously the cover. I thought about not doing a cover because it can be intimidating. I don't know why, but you're staring at a blank canvas. You're like, how am I going to decorate this? So I knew that I was going to use these really large acetate pieces from Studio Calico. They've been in my stash forever, and I've been hoarding them. Not anymore. I grabbed a 2 and a 5 and stuck it down in the middle because I knew that that's what I was going to do. that's how I was going to use them. And then from there, I didn't quite know what I was going to do. I know that I'm going to use a ton of Jennifer's stamps. I know I talked about this in the introduction, but I grab a stamp and I am about ready to just stamp in a random pattern all over. And I kind of stop myself like, no, let's think this through. How am I going to actually do this? So I decide to put lines down with a ruler and a pencil. So that way I know don't stamp past that. And if I am going to stamp past that, then I need to use a piece of paper. And so I just began stamping different sentiments and filling it in as I go. So the first one I started with was Bookish, and I'm doing a small section down at the bottom and then a bigger one up at the top. And I have other sentiments like read more, let's get lit, big book energy, and then just a book with a bookmark in it, and then books are like greater than people. So just a great variety of them. And this journal so far is just stamping just like in Archer and Olive. There is no bleed through or anything that I can see through on the other side. It is fantastic. So I am very happy with picking out this journal. I even did a stamp test page at the back, and that's what made me even more excited that I chose this journal, because I love Archer and Olive journals, don't get me wrong, but it's hard to justify that shipping and the tax and everything. So I was like, is there some way that I can get a different journal? And this journal, I think, is actually a small company, I want to say. Don't quote me. But this is what I wound up with for the cover. Later on, I do add some washi tape to the bottom to kind of frame in the sections. So I printed a lot of my titles with different fonts on my computer using clear sticker paper. And then things go horribly wrong laying down this title. And I'm like, well, maybe this wasn't such a time-saving idea. And I know I talked about that in my introduction as well, figuring out different ways to save time. And I figured that this would save me time. The problem is that I needed to cut this title down into probably smaller pieces so that way it was easier to lay down. As you can see, as I was laying down the year of book, it did not lay down straight. I don't know what happened, but it did not lay down straight. I was so frustrated because I'm like, I just started my journal and I'm already having some issues, but I left it and I'm just going to pretend that it doesn't bug me. And as you can see here, since it says 2025, I am not doing quarters like I was doing last year. Well, no, let me just say this. I am doing quarter sections where I include 3 months of books with the larger book covers. So remember, those book covers are 1 inch wide by 1.5 inches tall. So I'm still doing those, and you'll see how I put together my different quarterly sections next behind the scenes reading video. But for now, this one will cover the entire year because I will use the itty bitty size book covers. I don't remember the size of those, but I will leave the downloadable template in the description box. Okay, so the next page that I'm going to work on is goals. Now, I was not going to lay the sticker title down right away. I was not. I wasn't so sure how I was going to put together my goals page, because last year, if you watched it, I made the same type of bar graphs, but when I was trying to figure out how I was going to divide them up using the dots, it didn't work. It was not divided up by the dots. It was kind of like fill in a smidge, don't fill in a smidge. It became really confusing for me. So I turned off the camera, I sat down and I thought about how I'm going to break this up into sections based on the dots. And I wrote it out on a Post-it note with a key and everything. And it turned out amazing. I absolutely love how this page turned out. So I am first going to stamp out goals with this really large alpha stamp set from Ali Edwards. I did not want to mess up the sticker title again. I really wanted this to work. And then I will stamp out, I'll stamp out goals, and then I will break down my goals that I have into 10 different sections. And I will actually use, for the one that says go for 50,000 pages, that's actually going to have 3 bar graphs, or bar pieces, I guess you could say. So what I did is, when I turned off the camera, is I counted out the dots. And so I basically want a bar graph that is 20 dots, 20 dots total. And then it's about 2 dots high. And that's going to allow me to divide things up much easier. And so when I'm filling in my sections each month, I can easily know what to fill in, and it's not just maybe a little, maybe a lot, maybe nothing. You know, it was very confusing for me last year. You can see here I was doing my reading journal as I was festively wearing a Santa hat. It was fantastic. It took a long time to put this journal together. Definitely a labor of love, but so worth it. I love documenting my books, and even if things got really messy and frustrating at times, I was able to work it out. So for the first goal that I have, it's 150 books. And so what that means is that for every dot, I will add a vertical line and divide up my bar. So each bar that I will fill in, or each slice, will represent 8 books. So then it's 20 dots across. So 20 times 8 is 160 books. It'll make more sense when I lay down all the vertical lines, or I start doing that. I'm putting the rest of my bar pieces over on the right hand side. 7, 8, 9, and 10 are going to be on that side. And everything is going much faster now that I have figured out a concrete plan. I feel like with some of the reading journal pages, you kind of can just jump right in without a plan. But if you want things to be better than last year for yourself, then you probably got to take some time to figure out how it's going to work. Okay, so this is where I divide everything up into little slices, so that way it makes sense for me. My daughter came to talk to me, and then I kept going with my counting. I noticed on the first box that I needed to add one more section to make a total of, I think it was the 20 different sections. So 20 little tiny boxes. Each one gets filled in after 8 books, and then that would be my goal for reading 150 books. Now, for the next goal, it was number 2. That is read 50,000 pages. So each section that I fill in equals 1,000 pages. But then down at number 5, that one has a lot bigger of sections, because I want to read 5 books from the 2024 Goodreads winners. So I go over 4 dots and make a section to wind up with 5 total sections, since it's 5 books that I want to read. And then 10 middle school books, I went over 2 dots. So that way I have 10 sections. I also have a goal of 10 spooky books and 10 holiday books. I also want to try again for finishing 4 series. Last year, or the end of this year, I've totaled it up, and I think I've only finished 1 series, maybe 2, but there's several romance series that I know that I can finish. I'm also loving using this Tombow pen. I will link it in the description box, the one that I use, but I just love it. It's kind of a brush tip. I use it all the time for my Hobonichi cousin, and it's working fantastic to make the words a little bit bolder. So again, it's 150 books, 50,000 pages, 60 audiobooks, 30 nonfiction, and then 5 chunky books is going to be number 10. And again, that one I tried this year, and I think I only did 2 chunky books, or maybe I just didn't keep track very well, but these are my goals, and I think that they are pretty attainable. I almost put read 3 classics or 4 classics, but I've never been very good at reading classics. I'd love to read Little Women this year, so I could reread that. I'm pretty sure I read it as a kid, so I could reread Little Women and count that as a chunky book. I also am not going with that cohesive look. I'm pretty sure I talked about it in my introduction, but it was really frustrating me trying to figure out what collection I would use, what supplies I would stick with. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to use stickers. This makes it easier. And I really love this sticker sheet from Pip Sticks, and I wanted to finish up this sheet. And so I took the 2 shelves, put them on either side, and then added in a bunch of books. And I think it looks absolutely amazing. I love how it came together, and I even tilted some of the books. And there's a bunch of silver, almost holographic type stickers, and so I added a bunch of those. I'm also going to grab another sheet with a girl that's sitting on a couch and add her in as well, and it's going to look fantastic. And now, hopefully, filling in each of those little sections makes more sense using the dots and math to fill it in, because it makes more sense to me, because now it's not ambiguous as to how much I should fill in for each of my goals. I wanted that girl on the couch to be resting on something, so I used some dark green washi tape to kind of anchor her down, then added a stack of books next to her, plus some of the silver stars, and then a few green and gold stickers. And this page is I absolutely love it. I'm so excited with how it turned out. And then I will take the key that I have and put it in the back. I thought about adding it to the page, but I figured, you know what, it's pretty self-explanatory once you kind of look at it. So there you go. That is the goals page. Just turned out so amazing. Okay, so the next one is monthly faves, and I probably, again, talked about this in my introduction. I tried to go over like a bunch of different bullet points in my introduction, but using this stencil that I made, I feel like an absolute genius. Mind you, it took me a lot of test prints. Like, I just put in copy paper to run it and see if it would fit for the size that I had, and I finally got it to work, cut it with my Cameo, and it turned out incredible, and I'm going to use it several times throughout making this journal. So I have monthly faves, and you can see I broke it into I think 3 pieces or 4 pieces, but I really was very careful about getting it to stick down. And many years I have taken monthly faves and I have stamped all kinds of complex things, frames, boxes. Not this year. I'm using my stencil. I'm going to draw out this box. I believe it's the 1 inch by 1.5 inches. And then I thought about adding the rating, but again, that's more work, that's more stamping. So I'm probably just going to write out the months and call it done. So I will do 3 months on the top and then go over to the other side and do 3 months. So it's going to be 6, and then there's 6 in one row and 6 in another row. So for a total of 12 books for the favorite books of each month. And I thought about doing a bracket system too. I know a lot of people love doing bracket systems for their favorite books, but to me that was, again, a little more complex, and I don't know. I was just like, I'm going to keep it simple and not add more complexities to it. I also grabbed some stickers from Sweet Bean Plans and washi tape to add at the bottom. It's like this seasons washi tape with all different bookshelves on it. It's absolutely amazing. So I will use that at the bottom, and then I'll add a sticker that has a cute little penguin on top with a stack of books from the different seasons, and then a little bit of stamping as stars, and that is it. I also did add one stamp that says love to read, live to read, and I'm going to wind up coloring that in. I almost stamped it again and then stamped that sentiment again and just left it white and not colored, but I figured, you know what, I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm just going to move on. But I'm writing out January through December using that Tombow pen again that makes things stick out. And I'm hoping that, when my Cameo cuts the books, it always cuts it a little bit smaller. So I'm hoping that it'll do that again, and then the books will fit right in there with a little black border. And if it doesn't fit with the border that I've drawn, no big deal. You can still see, that it's January. And I could always add another black border if I wanted to. So there's options, but at least I have like the base layout done for documenting my monthly faves. So you can see here, I just stamped love to read, live to read, and then stamping a bunch of stars in a bunch of different places. So easy, simple, and let's get back to more reading. I think that was kind of my point with how I was approaching making my journal. So I colored in the book brown, and then I colored in the circle pink. And again, I felt like it was drawing a lot of focus down towards the penguin sticker and the stamped sentiment. So I thought about putting something up by the monthly faves, but in the end, just left it this way. There you go. It's done. Moving on. All right, this was another page that just gave me an absolute headache because, well, first of all, I was trying to put this together at like midnight because I've been staying up late since I'm on break from school. But I could not, for the life of me, figure out the math on these dots. It was very tricky for me. It was just not making sense. So I lay down the title, Monthly Stats, and then I'm like, I'm just going to dive right into this. Who cares? No measuring. And I had put down a small box. And I think I was using the measurements from last year. And so that's why I was all confident, like, hey, I've got this box here. Let's just go for it. I draw it out and it is way too small. Plus my line is crooked. And I'm like, this is not going to work. Like, what am I going to do? So I get out some dot grid paper that I have. I have some loose leaf dot grid paper, and I cover the top of the left-hand side of the page. And then I start drawing out my different categories, and I'm drawing out the rows. And I'm not paying attention to how many rows I am drawing. And I just keep drawing and drawing rows. And then I get my pen and I'm going to fill in the lines with columns. And again, not really paying attention to how many is here because once I realize that, I will have already filled in much of the right-hand side. So I am counting now and realizing that, you know what, I have a lot of these here because I really only needed like 6 on the left and 6 on the right, and then that would have been sufficient. But like I said, I didn't realize. I just kept going all the way across the page and didn't think about it. So what I'm going to do to fix that, because there was no way I was going to lay a second sheet of paper on top of the left-hand side and the right side and just start over. There's no way. So what I'm going to wind up doing is leaving the left-hand side the way it is and then covering up the right-hand side with a fresh piece of paper. And then I will finish the graph over on the right hand side, and I'll only need 3 bar sections. I'm also going to shorten how many categories I keep track of, and that's what I was writing down here. I think I have a total of 7 categories, and that's just going to work just fine. I took out a lot of them. Like, I'm not going to keep track of my library savings. I know it's a lot. It's a lot. All my books come from the library, and it's just so hard to keep track of the receipts. I also took out the average length for a book that I read. I took that one out. I didn't need it. I am counting out the dots now of where I want to place each of the rows. So I have my line, count over 2 or count over 3, and then draw my line again. And I will wind up with 7, I think it is, 6 or 7, but I do have an awkward row at the end. I don't know what I'm going to put in that last little box. So if you guys have an idea or a suggestion, I would absolutely love to know your suggestion. But it's a skinny little box, so I don't know what's going to go there. All right, so I turned the camera off, added in that piece of paper, and then now I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to do 3 rows, and then that way I can have 1 row be for the whole year. So I can add up all my stats for the entire year. I thought that that would be a fun little addition. I did not scoot the rows over a little bit, so that way the months could be on the left-hand side like it's going to be on the left-hand side page, but that's okay. The whole point was just to keep moving forward because this page was just frustrating me so much. But in the end, it was a lot of fun to make. Okay, so the categories are total books, whether it's physical or audio, total pages, hours listened, 5 stars, and average rating. I also took out Kindle because I don't read a lot of books on Kindle, and it doesn't really matter to me. It's either physical or it's audio. Like, which one is it? I don't need Kindle. And then I just repeated those same stats over on the other side, which is going to be where November and December and the year all together go. I had this fun idea to take a bunch of the extra room and use a vellum piece that I printed from a digital scrapbooking kit from Ali Edwards and use that down at the bottom. So it says date due, and I just used a huge chunk of it down at the bottom, and then I got to figure out what kind of stickers I want to use. I'm kind of using a little bit of everything that I have in my sticker stash, which I knew that I was going to do, and it's been really fun. Be like, I haven't used this, and that's what happened with this page. I saw this washi tape from Every Minute a Story, and I was like, I haven't used that yet. I've got to use it. So I put it down at the bottom, and then I put a little bit at the top, and eventually I'm going to decide I don't want the ones at the top. I have this tiny box sticker sheet. I don't know why I bought it because these boxes are insanely tiny. I lay one down and I'm like, that doesn't look great. Like, the scale doesn't work. But then I was like, well, what if I lay down multiple boxes and make them like tilted and kind of give that illusion of movement? So that's what I did down at the bottom, adding in a total of 4 boxes, and then 2 more boxes up at the top where the title is. So that way there's boxes everywhere now, and I love it. I then found a Tombow that matches, drew a skinny rectangle for every single one of my rows, January through December, and then the yearly. And you can see this is where I had to put my monthly and year on the right-hand side instead of the left. So it doesn't all look the same, but it's getting done. And like I said, I'm thrilled that I narrowed down some of my stats and took away the library savings. Like I said, so hard for me to keep track of all the receipts. All the receipts. So there you go. Monthly stats all done. And now we can move on to the next page, which is Goodreads. In years past, I have tried to make this a fun little thing and make it way more complicated. I feel like I've said that a lot, but that has been my whole goal with 2025 is figuring out ways that I can make it simpler. So what I did is stamped the title, which is Goodreads, instead of using my sticker title. Then I got out some washi tape from Once More with Love, and I'm going to put that up at the top. And then I will use my stencil that I made to make the rows of books. I'm not going to number them. Last year I numbered them and I wound up skipping 66, which was pretty impressive to me. No, wait. Actually, last year I numbered them going down instead of across, and then I fixed that. Then I skipped 66. So it was kind of a mess, I guess, thinking back. So this year, simpler, just going to draw in the squares and then write the numbers as I go, and hopefully I won't skip any numbers. This washi tape from Once More with Love is just beautiful and shiny, and I love it. I'm obsessed. So each of the row that I made for my stencil has a total of 9 books. And again, I did test prints with just simple printer paper to make sure that 9 was a good number and that there was room on the left and the right, just like a smidge of room. That way it's not totally all smushed together. So I have 2 rows, and then I keep going down towards the bottom. I think what I wound up with is a total of 180 books, and I am good with that amount of number. My goal is 150 because we are at the end of 2024, and I think I'm going to wind up with 154 books for the year. So 180 is a crazy amount, and I don't think that I'm going to get that high, but we shall see. We shall see what will happen. Like if I read more graphic novels, maybe. I had a hard time this year finding graphic novels, especially during Halloween and Christmas. I didn't find a lot, and those are the months that I tend to read more graphic novels. But this stencil is just working out perfectly. I absolutely love it. And once I'm done drawing in all my boxes, I'm just going to add a few stickers down at the bottom and call it done. It doesn't need to be harder than that. And I know a lot of people do shadowing with their boxes when they do journaling, but I don't know how to do that, and I didn't want to take the time to learn or do it on every single box. I believe I tried that last year as well, and taking that out this year definitely lessened the time, I guess you could say. So I have an awesome Goodreads page now, and I just fill it in as I go, and it looks amazing. And I'd love to know in the comment section what you guys are aiming to read this year. And if you guys want to be friends on Goodreads, you can find me under Sabrina Poole. I am just terrible at finding people. I never can. I don't know why. But the app, I don't feel like is very user-friendly. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. All right, added in some stickers, and it's done. Oh my goodness, this might be my favorite Goodreads page that I have ever done. I love how it turned out. So this next idea came from an Instagram friend named April, Mom Run Craft. I will link her in the description box. But she made a page where she took the first lines of the books that she read and wrote them down. And I thought that was so cool. Like, that's just something I had never seen before. So I was like, I want to include that in my journal. And yeah, all the years that I've done journals, which is 2019, I have never seen anyone do this. So whenever I start a book, I will write down the first line. And I actually mapped it out so that way I would have 2 pages, or I'm going to need 2 total spreads because that'll give me 180 lines, hopefully, to use and write down my first lines. I also decided to use I don't even know what this is, a planner kit, Hobonichi cousin kit. I don't know, but it's meant for planners, and it's from Bubba Bear Studios, and I bought it and never used it. And I figured, you know what? I really love the writing on it, the text. So I'm going to go ahead and use that on both pages. I just tore some strips, put it down in the bottom right corners, and also some up at the top, and then I'm going to use little box stickers as well. And I think it looks so cute. I am so happy I finally found a home for these stickers. It's overall a pretty simple spread, but it's going to look so fun, and it's going to be fun to read as I add books to it. So I have first lines part 1, and I put a little couch sticker at the bottom. I also drew a circle and put a number 1, and then did a pencil line so that way it would keep me straight when I'm writing out the line. And then I did the second page in the same format, except I just changed the sticker at the bottom. It's going to have a little bear reading that says gasp. I also didn't number the little circle that I drew with the Tombow, just in case for some reason I go over the 90, because it should be 91 starting on the second spread. It should be, but we shall see. But I'm excited. I'm very excited to see this page come together and just write down all the first lines, because I've had some pretty funny lines to start off books. And I think the one that pops into my head is The Borrowed Life of Frederick Fief. That's a uplit book I read, I think, in November. And I pretty sure it started off with him saying that he peed his pants, and it was hilarious. Okay, so these pages are done. I'm going to move on to this bigger project because I ask friends on Instagram if they can help me find books. And of course, so many amazing people respond. And then of course, there's books that I may have already read. So it's not only a fun spread to put together, but I just love being able to reach out to friends on Instagram and be like, hey, what book would you recommend? And sometimes I'll be like, well, I already read that book. Could you name another one? So this year I did 15 books instead of 12 because this year I wound up reading, I think, 10 out of the 12. Yeah, I think it was my best year ever. So I figured, why not? Let's just do 15 and see what happens. I will say that at least 3 or 4 of the 15 books were books that I was already kind of planning on reading, so that kind of worked out. But it is a small percentage, and I will say I feel like this is going to be a really hard year. There's some books that are not the typical genres that I would read, or they're just books that, I don't know, might be on a little bit on the outside of what I would normally read. I am starting off with a similar design as last year. Last year I did flowers and books covering the edges in rainbow colors. This year I'm doing similar, like I said, but I'm using different stamps and smaller stamps. I'm using Jennifer's stamps, and I'm using an open book, a smiley face, and then a heart in a variety of colors and just going around the edge. She also has a stamp set with 2 people in it. So I stamped 2 people down at the bottom and then 1 more person up at the top. And then I can use my Tombows to color the people in, which I'm very, very excited about. I just love the whole aspect of coloring. It makes me happy. So like I said, I'm just filling in, going through all the different colors. I went red through purple, the whole rainbow, and then I went back through again just to fill in the spots that I had, and I love how it turned out. And once I had that portion, that's when I kind of stopped the camera and I was able to go to my Cameo and print out the book covers. And I actually think I'm going to add a 16th book because my dear friend Erica, she recommended a dark fantasy romance book. And so I might add that down at the bottom. I mean, you know what? Let's just go for it. This year was such an incredible year for reading, especially nonfiction. I think nonfiction wound up being one of my biggest genres this year, which was very exciting. Okay, so I'm down to pink, and I'm just going to add in a little bit more with the different stamps that I have, and I also decided to add in some black stars just to add a little bit of visual interest and kind of help your eye travel around the page with all the different colors. And then I will color in my different friends. I just love these friends. I'm going to assume they're girls, and they're going to be my book club girl friends. I don't know. I love them. So I grabbed a bunch of markers and I started off with the skin tones and then colored them in and just added all the fun colors to their books. I got a green book and an orange book and then like a tan book. It's going to be the best. I'm just going to add a little bit of music here while I finish coloring it, and then we'll talk about the books. First Next up is a thriller, I believe. It's called Like Mother, Like Daughter. And then next up is The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. Her books have been hit and miss with me, but I'm going to try it on audio. I also have a Mary Kay Andrews Christmas book that I was already thinking about reading, so I'm excited about that one. I have it on hold right now at the library, so I might just read it even though the Christmas season is over. Blue Sisters, someone recommended that and I already had it on hold, so I figured I'm just going to, add it to the list. It makes it kind of an easy one, but I'm okay with that. I had another friend named Susan recommend What the Wind Knows, which is by Amy Harmon, and I've read 2 of her books and they are absolutely incredible. So I'm sure that this book will be amazing as well. And like I said, I'm excited to read Blue Sisters because I've heard a lot about that. I also added in a nonfiction book, which I don't think I've ever done a nonfiction recommendation or added it on there. This one is called Remember, and it's basically talking about the science of remembering and forgetting and memory. There's also The Berry Pickers, which sounded really interesting, a historical fiction book. And then there is a romance called May Luna, so that should be fun. And then The Bear and the Nightingale. I think it's loosely based off a Russian folktale. I could be wrong. And then there's The Secret Book of Flora Lee. So that one was really intriguing. I added in another TJ Newman book. I read Drowning and I was hooked from the first few pages. So I know worst case scenario is probably going to be fantastic. Jenny recommended When the World Tips Over in audio form, so I requested that. My friend Linda recommended the historical fiction book called Lady Tan's Circle of Women about a Chinese physician. I believe that's what she was. She wasn't supposed to be in her time period. It was like forbidden, but she decides to be a physician or a doctor or a midwife, some sort of profession like that. And it sounds very good. And then I have the Book of Doors and Like Mother, 2 awesome books that I'm excited to read. So that is my 15 friends books. And I am just so excited for all of the books. So this next page is the ABC challenge, and I decided to make it bigger this year because I wanted to include the covers along with maybe writing the title, maybe not, but my main objective was to have the covers. So I wanted to do a different color than I had done in any of the other spreads, so I decided to go with blue. I also wanted to pick an alpha sticker sheet that I hadn't completely used up before, so I grabbed an Everyday Explorers one that has kind of an ombre look to it, and so I just peel up the A and then draw in the book cover with my stencil. It's the same one that's 1 inch wide by 1.5 inch tall, and I think I mentioned this already, so forgive me if I already have, but my Cameo tends to cut things just a smidge smaller, so I should still have the black outline, but if I don't, I can always add it or just go without. So I am going to keep going down the page all the way to E and then start my second column. I wound up aiming for 5 per column except for the third column, and the last one just has Y and Z. And I really love how this one turned out. I wasn't so sure because again, I was going to stamp out A through Z with my stamps, and that gets really messy. Like, I am such a messy stamper. The ink would have been all over my hands like it was in Genres. Genres is coming up, and that was a lot of stamping. But I just really, again, I can't say this enough. I wanted to make it simpler. And so I was looking around in my supplies and I saw my stamp or my alpha stickers, and I was like, that would work much better. And then the stencil as well will help me get it done quickly. finish up the page, I just added a little bit of teal washi up at the top and called it done. It looks fantastic. I'm excited to add in the books. Okay, this is the genre page where I used a ton of different stamp sets from Jennifer's shop to add in the different genres. Now, in years past, I have done a double page spread for every single genre you can ever imagine. Pretty much every single one that Jennifer has ever made, I included. Last year and this year, I wanted to simplify things because I've noticed that it's hard to determine what genre the book is, and also there's lots of genres that one book could be, and some of them, like I said, are hard to find, like the books that are written by people of color. That is a little trickier to find, and or maybe I'm just a dork and I have a problem finding that. But either way, above any of that, I just wanted to simplify things. So I picked genres that I knew would be easy when I was trying to classify my books. And on the right-hand side, I have romance, and I hope that this romance will work like this way I have it set up. I'm going to draw in some books, and it's not going to be a lot of romances, so I don't know. I may have to do an additional page that I can add in. For now, I'm stamping the genres. I stamp memoir, historical fiction, romance, and mystery up at the top. And then I draw the line right below it. Now, I will say my husband was fixing my cameo. I had a new mat, a new blade. It was a mess and it wasn't cutting. So I was a little distracted and I did not draw like 2 lines for my tally marks. So I don't know if one line is going to work for the entire year. So we shall see. I don't know. It might have to be squished together. So the second row has young adult, nonfiction, graphic novel, and fantasy. And then in the third row, I decided to put sports romance. I don't know why I put that because I don't read a lot of sports romance. It has hockey sticks, so maybe I'll try to read more sports romance. I don't know. I could always replace that one with, just a piece of paper and stamp something else. But for now, it's sports romance, then supernatural. And then the last 2 are just favorites and audio. And those I will just add up for any books that are favorites and the total number of audio. So I kind of gave myself 2 freebies there because, like I said, it's been hard for me to figure out, like, where do I want to categorize this book? And some, I've told Jennifer, she's my friend, so I've told her, hey, you need to get some of these genres like adult fiction and uplit. I'm like, let's go. Let's make those. So maybe those are coming soon because I need those genres. So I used the stencil again to fill in all the way to the bottom for romance. And I am going to wind up with a total of 25 books. Like I said, I don't know if that's enough, but I wanted to give the page some sort of structure. I thought about leaving it with book covers as small as the year of books at the very beginning of my journal, but decided I wanted them a little bit bigger like I had them for 2024. So for right now, it's 25. If I need to add a page, I can on the right-hand side. I can even add a page down at the bottom and just fold it up. So I have options if I need to expand it, I guess. And then the next step is going to be adding in some color. That's why I grabbed my Tombows. I get to fill in all these different stamps. The stamp up at the top right, it says good girls read dirty books, and I think that's hilarious and so true. Some of the books I'm a little shocked. Like the book I'm reading right now, everybody's talking about it, How My Neighbor Stole Christmas. Ooh, that one's really spicy, and I'm not sure if I was expecting that amount of spice. But I'm filling in romance with pink, and then over on the genre side, I'm going to fill that in with lots of fun different colors. So I'll add in the music again as I finish coloring this. So there is my genres and romance pages. I love how they turned out, very simplified, and it should be really easy to keep track of both of these things. So I am now going to put together the book lovers challenge and the lifetime of reading challenges. Both of these are from the Book Girls guide. I printed out the PDFs. Well, actually I took the PDFs and I shrunk them down so they would fit in this journal, and then I colored them in. So for the book lovers, basically it's any books that are about books, and there's a variety of different categories, like books about bookstores, or reread a favorite, or pen names, or characters interacting with real authors. And then lifetime of reading is going through, starting from childhood all the way to, 100 years old. So really fun, interesting challenges that I wanted to try for this year, and I'll just fill them in with markers as I go. All right, so here is the end of my reading journal, and I decided to sign it. I thought that would be fun, so I signed my name, and then I show you the title page, the year of books, where I'll put the really tiny books, my goals, monthly faves, then the monthly stats for the entire year, Goodreads tracker, first lines part 1 and part 2, my 15 books and friends, ABC, genres, and then romance, and then my Book Girls challenges. And then that starts quarter 1, which I will share with you next week.
So you have come to the end of putting together this journal as far as my goals, my stats, my challenges. The next video will be all about how I'm breaking this into quarters, and I will use the quarters to document the months. I'm going to make some calendar pages next time and share those calendar pages and the bookshelves that I will use in the different monthly pages. So I am aiming for simpler this year, and so doing all this prep work ahead of time or before the year starts will hopefully make it so that I am successful. But I hope you enjoyed seeing this first part of my reading journal and how I've set it up. I appreciate you guys watching. I would love a thumbs up, or if you're new to my channel, a subscribe. All right, have a great day. Bye.